Hi, I'm Courtney Reicheg. This video will discuss 5 major turning points in the history of the church during the medieval era. The turning points that will be discussed throughout this video are either events or ideas that occurred. The events or ideas will be presented in order of when they occurred in history. 5 major turning points that I believe impacted the church during the medieval era were the Islamic invasions, the First Crusade, the 12th century Renaissance, the idea of heresy, and the Western Schism. The first event that was a major turning point for the church during the medieval era were the Islamic invasions. These invasions took place from 622 to 750. Prior to these invasions, there were 5 cities that held importance in Christianity. After these Islamic invasions, 3 of the cities were conquered by the Islamic nations that were invading Europe, which left only 2 of the cities left. The 2 cities that were left were Constantinople and Rome. Before the invasions, there was not a power struggle between the bishops who ruled each city since there were 5 cities of importance to Christianity. Since there were only 2 cities left, there was now tension between the Bishop of Constantinople and the Bishop of Rome about who was the one supreme Christian leader. Since Christian cities were falling under Islamic rule, there were now competing religions in Europe between the Islamic religion and the Christian religion. This will cause tension throughout Europe in regards to religion. This tension regarding religion in Europe can be seen in the next event that is a turning point for the church in the medieval era. The next event that was a major turning point for the church during the medieval era was the First Crusade. The Christians viewed the appearance of the Islamic religion in Europe as a threat, which caused the violent event of the First Crusade to take place. There were about 5 crusades during the Middle Ages, but I am just going to focus on the First Crusade. A crusade can be defined as killing someone of a different faith for the sake of your faith. The Islamic invasions led to the First Crusade. Alexius I, the Byzantine emperor, asked the Pope for help in defending Constantinople from invading Muslims. The Pope agrees to this for religious reasons. One reason he agrees to help is that Christians are supposed to help Christians. A second reason he agrees to help is because if they do not, it means that they do not love God. A third reason he gives is that they must fight for their faith, which makes the fighting okay. If Christians help in this crusade, they will be forgiven for their sins and be allowed to enter heaven. For all of these reasons, Christians take part in this bloody and violent crusade against the invading Muslims in order to fight for their faith. The First Crusade is a response to the Christian religion being threatened by the appearance of the Islamic religion in Europe. The church is trying to gain back their power through the First Crusade. Another event that is a major turning point for the church during the medieval era is the 12th century Renaissance. After a time of about 500 years of tension and fighting in Europe due to religion, which can be seen through the first 2 events that were discussed, there was now a shift in dynamics of the church. The church in Europe were now beginning to become stable, and this allowed for the 12th century Renaissance to occur. There was growing stability among economics, politics, and religion, which allowed for positive changes to occur in European society. The 12th century Renaissance took place during what is known as the High Middle Ages and is also referred to as a rebirth of civilization in Western Europe. During this time, farming practices were being changed in order to have a greater yield of food. Since there were now better practices for farming, people could move to cities and perform other jobs, which led to an increase in trade. One of the biggest changes in society during this time was the emphasis on education, which led to the creation of universities. After a period of fighting, the 12th century Renaissance was a good thing for European society, which helped better Europe as a whole. Another turning point for the church during the medieval era was the idea of heresy. The idea of heresy was viewed as another threat to Christianity by the church. Heresy was a term to describe people who had different beliefs in the Christian religion. People who had a different faith in the Christian religion were called heretics. The medieval church felt threatened by people who practiced a different religion than Christianity, and as a result, they decided to seek out those people who had different beliefs. The church did not treat people who had a different faith in Christianity with kindness. If the church believed that someone was a heretic, that person could be punished by having to wear something that pointed out to society that they were a heretic, imprisonment, or in most extreme cases, they could be killed. The church felt so threatened by other religions starting to appear in Europe that they decided to punish people who thought differently than them. One last turning point for the church during the medieval era was the Western Schism. This event did not have to do with outside forces threatening the church. Instead, this event happened internally. During this time, there was a split in the Catholic Church, which resulted in 2 sitting popes at the same time. Different groups within the church were putting forward popes that they believed was the one true pope. This created a divide among the church in Europe. This led to years of two popes being in charge at the same time and tension about deciding who was the one true pope in charge of the church. Eventually, the schism ended, but the prestige of the papacy was harmed, and people were still not completely happy with the papacy. It was also decided that there would be a council of clergymen within the church that would help regulate the actions of the pope and be of higher power than the pope. As you can now see, the Islamic invasions, the First Crusade, the 12th century Renaissance, heresy, and the Western Schism were all turning points for the church during the medieval era. These events and ideas ranged from outside forces impacting the power of the church as well as the tensions within the church itself. The church believed that Christianity was being threatened during the Middle Ages, which led to many of these turning points for the church to be violent in nature. The church was threatened by religions other than Christianity starting to appear in Europe. There was a time of positive societal change. Then the church felt threatened by other religions again, and the church experienced internal conflict. The many turning points for the church led to them experiencing many ups and downs during the Middle Ages. Thanks for watching!